I really like automation in financial systems. I like when we can build a financial system that kind of takes care of itself, because then we don't have to think about it all the time. We don't have to do a bunch of math. We don't have to do a bunch of transfers. We just set up a system that just runs for us, right? And I've had other videos where I talk about building financial systems that are self-sustaining like that. But I got a comment that pointed out that some of those financial systems that I was building don't really work for people who are self-employed or freelancers or who have small businesses. Basically, anybody with inconsistent income. And it's true. People in that situation need to build a different financial system. Let me show you how. First, let me read that comment for you. And the comment says, "This makes a ton of sense. My biggest barrier is that I have inconsistent income due to owning my own business. How do you create systems like this when you don't have a consistent paycheck?" That is an excellent question. So let's get into it. So the financial systems that I described in that first video were geared towards people who have like a steady W-2 income, people who are employees at other people's businesses, right? And let me show you what that system looked like. All that happens is you have money that comes in from your employer. We're going to call that wages. And it just comes in through this little funnel here. And for a lot of people, immediately some of that money gets split off into a 401k or another employer-sponsored retirement plan. This is a great example of automation. Already you've got money going towards your retirement savings goal, and your employer is probably matching some of that too, which is great. But then after that, this is where the money hits your bank account and you get to decide what to do with it, right? But here's where our automation kicks in. And so we're going to split it off, and we might have some of it going into another retirement account, like a Roth IRA. We might have some of it split off immediately into something like a brokerage account, or we might be investing for intermediate term savings goals. And then we might have some money split off right away for an emergency fund. And all of these are just getting split off into different investing or savings accounts right away. If it goes into an investment account, we set up automatic recurring purchases. So you don't have to touch it again once the money hits the account. It'll get invested automatically. And so there might be multiple branches like this. I personally have multiple brokerage accounts. We have one account that's just for saving for travel, things like that. So it's really going to depend on your savings goals, as many or as few accounts as you need to satisfy your particular savings goals. But once you have some money getting split off towards all of those different savings goals, the end part, I think, will always look kind of the same. It'll come down to two accounts at the very end. One of them will be an account for bills, and that's where things like recurring mortgage payments or rent payments, insurance payments, all those things will come out automatically from this account. And then the rest, or a certain dollar amount, will go into an account for fund money. So this is where all of your discretionary spending comes from. So if your friends call you and say, hey, you want to go out for drinks, it would come out of this account. And the beauty of this is that any spending that comes out of that fund money account, you already know that all of your other savings goals and your bills are already taken care of. So any money that comes out of this account is guilt-free. It's money that's there for spending. Now, the tricky thing is all the parts of that system are still necessary for someone who is self-employed or a freelancer, right? You know, just the fact that you work for yourself doesn't mean that you don't need to save for retirement or have an emergency fund, or that you don't have other goals like travel that you want to save for. So everybody needs this kind of system. But how does it work if you don't have steady income? I'll tell you. We automate it. I'm going to show you how you can create a simulated steady paycheck by using the magic of automation. We're going to keep all of this stuff down here exactly the same. But we're going to have to zoom in on this section up here because we don't currently have a recurring paycheck from an employer. But I think there's a great workaround that can work for you. Do you have any guesses what it is? Any guesses? It's more automation. Did you guess more automation? Because, yeah, it's more automation. So we're just going to add another couple layers of automation upstream from this. And if we get that set up properly, then all of this stuff down here will still work for you. So the key to this working smoothly is using the concept of a holding tank. So if you get a giant payday from your business, like a huge chunk of money, instead of sending that out to your bank account all at once, we're going to put it into a savings account where it will be held and earn interest for you. And we're going to set up recurring transfers from that holding account into other accounts for you. And by setting up recurring transfers out of that big holding account, we can simulate a paycheck. We can create that steady cash flow that we need for the rest of our automation to work. Let me show you what that looks like. So we have business income that comes in, and we're going to put it into this holding account. And for this holding account, we're going to try to find the most high yield savings account we can find, something that pays you as much interest as we can get, because your cash is going to be parked there for a little while. And from there, the money is going to get split a couple different ways. First, you're going to have a certain amount that you set aside for taxes. Next, you're going to have a certain dollar amount that gets set into an account for business expenses. If your business has rent or employees or other things that you have to pay for, it's going to come out of that business expenses account. And then third, this is where we're going to create that income stream for your wages. So you'll set up just a recurring transfer on a regular schedule, like every week or every 2 weeks, and just pay yourself as if you were getting paid by an employer. Now, just like other people, you may have a little sidestep here where some of it gets put into a retirement account. But for a self-employed person or a freelance person, that might look a little bit different because it might not be a 401k plan. It might be something like a SEP IRA or a simple IRA or an individual 401k. I'll have another video that goes into those differences at some point. This kind of automated system for a freelancer or a small business owner can be really beneficial for a couple of different reasons. One, it does make it so that all of your other personal finances can also be automated, which is huge. But two, you're also setting aside money to pay your taxes and making sure you have money on hand to cover your business expenses. Now, I'll give you a personal story from when my wife and I started our photography business. We got into trouble early on because we didn't have a system like this. We were just paying business expenses as they came up and then transferring the rest to ourselves as wages. And it wasn't until the end of the year when we filed our taxes that we realized, oh, we didn't set aside enough money to pay our taxes. And that led to a cycle of several years where we were playing catch up and owed money to the IRS for a while. That is not a fun place to be. The IRS charges you interest and penalties when you do that. So setting up a system like this can help you avoid some of those mistakes that we made early on. One thing you may notice when you set up a system like this is that you might not be making as much money as you thought you were. When we started our photography business, we were trying to set up our pricing, and we said, let's just charge people, say, $50 an hour for shooting, right? Because we looked at W-2 employees and thought, oh, well, if we got paid $50 an hour at a corporate job, that wouldn't be a terrible wage. That would be pretty good. I don't remember if that was the exact number, but that was kind of our mindset, right? But we were skipping a few steps by doing that, right? We weren't thinking about taxes. We weren't thinking about business expenses. We thought we got to keep that whole $50. When I first learned about this kind of system, the person I saw giving that talk essentially used the framework of saying, set aside a third for taxes, a third for business expenses, and then a third goes to you and gets funneled into your financial system, where then it gets split off into other savings goals and things like that, right? And those numbers are going to be different for everybody's business, but I think that's kind of a useful framework, right? We thought we were going to keep that $50 an hour, but realistically, we were probably going to get something more like a third of that. And when you look at it through that lens, you can see that we weren't charging enough, right? As a freelancer, that can be a good gut check to see if you're actually charging enough to be sustainable. But that's a bit of a tangent. So this kind of system, it's not as hands-off as if you just had a W-2 paycheck that you got every 2 weeks, right? Because you still have to monitor the holding account. You have to make sure that this balance isn't getting too low. You have to make sure that you constantly have new business income coming in to feed that holding tank. But as long as you have enough business income coming in, it can be very self-sustaining. Just like our other automation system that we talked about, this can be something where you set it up once and it just runs in the background for you. But in practice, I think it's a good idea to treat that holding account the same way you would treat an emergency fund with your personal finances. You might want to keep 6 or 9 months worth of your automatic transfers in that holding account at all times, just to make sure that even if clients dry up for a while, you can still operate, right? I think in general, people who have unstable income, people like freelancers or small business owners, benefit from having a larger emergency fund anyway. And I think you can also have this kind of holding account for your business to have a business emergency fund as well. So give it a try. Let me know what you think. For those of you who are self employed or freelancers, let me know what has worked for you. Have you used a system like this of automation, or are you manually transferring money around as soon as you get a check from a client? There's no right or wrong way, but I do think the more you can set up a system that is automated, the more it can take some of that mental load off your shoulders. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thank you to Laura for that great question. If you have your own money question, please send me an email or let me know in the comments. And if you do find these videos beneficial, please consider subscribing so you can see other videos I put out. Let me know if you like these little hand-drawn sketches. Should have gone to art school. Appreciate you watching, and hope you have a great day. Now go set up that automation. Go do it. Go set up that automation. You'll like it. No, you're on track to hit all your savings goals. Won't have to stress about it every day. You just go have a drink. Go camping. You don't need to worry about it.